Hi friends, it's Pam. Welcome to a super casual coffee chat. I've got my gardening clothes on and I'm sitting here with my coffee at the kitchen table because I'm compromising. I wanted to be outside. I envisioned walking around with my coffee and looking at things with you and talking about what I was going to do today, which is to plant my garden boxes, work in some fresh dirt, and hopefully get my potatoes planted in another area. And when I went out there, even though it looks absolutely gorgeous, I'm looking at it right now, all the fresh green leaves on the trees and the grass that already needs to be mowed. Fortifying sip. I realized it's too windy. Yesterday we had gale force winds. It was super windy, and I guess these are the residual gusts. But let's get on with the topics I wanted to talk about today. It's a lot on my mind. I don't know about you, but you probably have a lot on your mind too, I'm guessing. So the first thing is, I was thinking about the series I did about overhelping and some of the takeaways that stuck with me after that. And one of them is how much easier it is for some people to help others. I know someone who is always out there in someone else's yard and they're helping them with projects and all kinds of big things that need to be done. And their own yard, their own property is sorely in need of help. Why do we do that? Why do some people do that? And then the opposite is also true, where sometimes people are very focused on their own things and don't kind of even offer to help with anything else. But the main experience in my life has been this tendency to get involved in other people's stuff. And I was thinking about why is that so much easier for some people? And I think it points to a deep need for validation, right? A deep insecurity of some kind where it's not very validating to just quietly go about doing the little jobs that need to be done around your house and around your place. Nobody sees that except for you. But if you're over helping someone else, then you get that validation, that pat on the back, that good job, thank you so much, right? So that's just something I've been thinking about and wondering a little bit about. So let me know your thoughts if you have any. And if you watched part or all of the Overhelping series, it's on my channel on a playlist now. Let me know if there's something that stuck out to you or that you still were wondering about, because these things are never really done, right? And that gets me to the next series. The next thing I'm planning to do, I've decided, is working through, see, this is just me processing my own life, my own emotions, my own experiences. The next thing is how to deal with or how to identify and survive a toxic work environment. Now that word toxic comes up a lot. And I know when I was really struggling a couple of years ago with my last teaching job, I would get through the morning by looking up videos on YouTube about how to identify a toxic boss, how to know when you're in a bad work environment, things like that. And this word toxic came up. And I think it's used a lot because it paints this picture of maybe you're in a house that's just been fumigated, or there's some kind of toxic gas leaking, and the environment, everything that you're breathing in, everything around you is just unhealthy. It's just contributing to the decay, the deterioration of your mental, physical, emotional state. So I'm not sure what I'll call it yet, but I really want to explore how I figured out that this was a bad situation, what was going on very subtly behind the scenes, and how I decided that enough was enough. So yeah, I think I'll start that on Monday if you're interested. I also wanted to ask a question about type A and type B people. Which one are you? I have recognized something in myself. I am kind of halfway between, I think, type A and type B. So I'm not really dominant. I'm not really like a leader, CEO type person that always needs to have a lot of influence, a lot of followers. I'm kind of halfway between that and the type B, who, in my mind anyway, is more likely to follow, wants to be told what to do, wants someone to intervene and say, hey, you should do this. And they gladly follow. And I'm not really one or the other. But for some reason, I'm really reluctant and kind of cagey around very type A people. I'm guessing it's probably because I was raised by two very type A people. I don't know, but I don't like being told what to do. I guess that's it. And I get really suspicious of people who always want to tell other people what to do. I kind of hold them a bit at arm's length and just wait and see where this is coming from and where it's going to go. But yeah, what are you? Are you more type A? Are you more type B? Do you look for someone to tell you what to do when you're at work, or are you leading the charge? Like, okay, we got to do this. I can definitely be both. So it's kind of a weird place to be when you're like half one and half the other. So I just wanted to bring that up because it's something I've been thinking about lately. Sort of being in that in-between state. I've got my little notes taped to my tripod. Pops was talking about that this morning, and I was like, oh yeah, I do that. I have like sort of point form little notes that I kind of tape up to the tripod, and sometimes I look at them and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I totally lose my train of thought. But yeah, I am kind of reluctant around people that have that strong CEO type energy. I don't know. What about you? What do you guys think? And kind of along with that goes this idea of integrity and authenticity. So a while ago, I was doing this course called Crest, and it's a Christian leadership course. And like a lot of other courses, they ask you to identify your top 5 values. And this took me a long time. And one of the reasons it took me so long is that one of my top values, and I think I've talked about this before in another video, is authenticity or integrity. So kind of like being the same all the way through, right? It's like when the Olympic athletes bite their gold medal, kind of symbolic of, is this gold all the way through? I don't know. You guys can tell me what that's actually about. I probably have it wrong. But this idea of being the same all the way through, being real, having integrity. And I'm still not there yet. So the reason I really struggled to identify my values in this area is because I value integrity. I really value authenticity, but I don't show up like that in my own life a lot of the time. So I had to wrestle with that. How can you have something as a value, but it also be a big struggle in your life? And it fits in with the people-pleasing thing. It fits in with always trying to make sure everyone's happy, avoiding conflict. So I don't state what I really think a lot. And you don't have to say what you think about everything, obviously. But I realized that I've just been letting some things slide, letting some really important things that, I believe strongly. Just, if somebody says something totally the opposite of that, claiming it as true, I'm like, oh, well, let's just all have fun here. Let's just be happy. And I realized that I'm letting myself down. I'm compromising my integrity by not standing up and saying, I don't know if you're right about that. And so I've kind of realized that I'm keeping quiet even when I know something is wrong in different spheres of my life. And I used to get in a lot of trouble when I was a teenager and, for speaking up too much. And I think I kind of internalized this thing over time. Just keep your mouth shut. Just be quiet. And so I just kind of turtle in and hide. And I'm not being real. I'm not being my true self. So let's see. I'm not there yet, right? And I wanted to read this verse, Colossians 2:6-8, because I think this also has a spiritual component, but I don't have the verse in front of me. And I don't want to edit this video. So look up Colossians 2:6-8. Basically, I could pull a Daniel and run get my Bible. I could do that, but oh, look, there's a Bible right there. Okay, I'm gonna do it. Whatever. Okay, hang in there. We almost got it. We're almost there. Colossians 2:6-8. 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians. This is my husband's Bible, so I'm not as familiar with it. It says, therefore, as you have received Christ Jesus the Lord, walk in him, rooted and built up in him, and established in the faith, just as you were taught, and overflowing with thankfulness. Be careful that no one takes you captive through philosophy and empty deceit, based on human tradition, based on the elemental forces of the world, and not based on Christ. And I think that's super important in the world we live in today. There's a lot of philosophies out there that claim to have the answers, to claim to be the truth, but they're empty and they're just based on worldly philosophies. And there's truth everywhere. A lot of things are true. But when you hold it up to the Word of God, if you're a believer in Jesus, and you hold it up and you say, something's not lining up here, then I think integrity means that you stand up and say something. It's kind of like, how they say in banks, how they teach the tellers and the people who work in banks to recognize counterfeit money. They don't tell them all kinds of things about counterfeit money. They make sure that they're really well acquainted with real money. And so when something counterfeit comes across the counter, they recognize it and they go, this isn't real. And that's what I'm challenging myself to do in my life, is be so acquainted with the truth that things that don't line up, I don't entertain them very long, because they're going to lead me down a path I don't want to go down. Because things that are false, beliefs that aren't true, that aren't real, that aren't rooted in truth, they tend to take us off the path that we want to be on. But sometimes we're so eager to looking for answers that anything that's dangled out in front of us, we just run to it and we say, yes, that's the answer. But I think we all need to be a little bit more or maybe it's just me, we need to sit with it a bit longer and compare it to the truth and not be taken captive by anything other than the truth. So that's kind of, I guess, maybe not so casual a way to end off this coffee chat, but that's something I've been thinking about, and basically just challenging myself to stand up a little bit more, be more authentic, and when I have an opinion, not just to share the opinion, but when there's something that's not ringing true, to say, I don't know, have you thought about this? At least state what I think is true. Well, I hope you have a good day. This coffee chat is a little bit of procrastination as well, because I really need to get outside before it gets too hot and get all these jobs done. And hopefully I enjoy it a little bit, working in my own yard. I have the window open right now, so maybe you can hear the crows and I can hear the leaves rustling. The sky is a beautiful blue, and the cat is out there enjoying the sunshine too. So whatever you're up to today, I hope you have a great day. Thanks for joining me for a little coffee chat. If anything resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it below, or you can just leave a little emoji of some kind, maybe a flower for spring or a heart, and I will see you guys again really soon. Bye.